What's up guys, it's Z here, welcome back. Today we finally have the new list and now it's time to discuss and see exactly what this list is going to bring to the game. And I know that a lot of people have mixed feelings about this ban list, a lot of people are really glad about certain stuff and really freaking out about other stuff, but I'm going to try to explain why Konami did a fantastic job with this ban list, and I'm going to explain why there are things in this list that think people are going to ruin the game, but they are pretty much going not to do much. But yeah, I'm going to give you my reasons exactly on each and every card why it was a good hit. So before we begin with the video, if you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss upcoming content, and now let's get to the video. So let's take the cards one by one. The first one is Dragon LP, and out of every card in this list, I'm pretty sure that this is the one that 100% of the players are going to agree that we saw it coming. Come on, this card dodged like so many ban lists, dragons have been good for so long, and I think it was finally time, and yes, finally Dragon LP is banned. Now don't get me wrong, dragons are still going to be very much playable. There is one more hit coming for dragons I'm going to discuss a little bit later, but still the deck is really good. It's not just going to be that resilient to hand traps and that oppressive, but it still has all the tools in order to make the exact same boards it did before. It's just not going to make them as consistently and as possibly, because you hand trapped your opponent, unless it was something like an Nibiru, then it was not going to matter, but you were going to do the same thing again. But now without LP things, you have to hard draw some other stuff more often, you have to make some other plays in order to make the same results, but I'm still pretty sure that everyone is happy to see LP gone. But if you think dragons are going to be completely off the format, then you have rough coming, because come on, it's not going to do that. I mean, LP getting banned is going to do a huge hit for the deck, but the deck is still going to be really good. And I'm pretty sure that people were not even, they didn't even want to play the deck now with LP, because they just were so bored of it, because it was just being so good for so long. But now without LP, people will start experimenting again. So in a sense, you might see it more than you would be seeing it if LP was not around, unless you were playing in very competitive high levels. But in casual levels, people were just so bored of the deck and they just didn't want to play it. Then they would switch to Strike Brigade Zodiac, and now people are going to start experimenting, finding new combos. So you're going to see dragons, they're just not going to be as oppressive as they used to. Now, the next card is Zodiac Dryden, and I think out of every card in this list, this one is the one I have the most mixed feelings about. I have a feeling that they just took the easy route of copying the OCG, because I'm pretty sure that if the OCG hadn't banned Dryden, this hit would not have happened in the TCG either. I mean, come on. Out of all the cards that we discussed about Tri-Brigade Zodiac getting hit, stuff like Tenki, Fractal, or even limiting Zeus, this was not the one that people expected. And to be honest, it's kind of the most random one, because Dryden used to be on the ban list and they brought her back, and now she didn't do anything up until Tri-Brigades came out, and now she got banned again. And to be honest, maybe we'll see her again. I think this card might be switched out with Zeus eventually, not in any time soon, because, I mean, Zeus, they were not going to ban Zeus now because they need to sell more product, like the Megatins Zeus is going to get reprinted. But in due time, I think if you compare a card like Zeus and Dryden, which one does it sound more broken to you? Come on. So I'm pretty sure eventually, maybe after 2 ban lists from now, Zeus is going to get banned if Tri-Brigade seems to be the most broken deck, which it might be. And then when Zeus gets banned, Dryden is going to come off the list and people are going to be happy, because there's absolutely no way that Zodiacs are that broken in the current format. They just wanted to make sure that Zodiacs were not that splashable. And to be honest, right now, I'm not even sure if the Zoo engine is even worth it in Tri-Brigades anymore, because it's a going first deck, and without Dryden, the engine doesn't offer anything going first. It's really good going second with Zeus, but there's no way you can make Zeus going first with the Zodiacs. So yeah, I don't think everyone's going to play it. Maybe people will start playing pure Tri-Brigades, we'll have to wait and see. But still, if you're sad about Dryden being gone, then I think you just need to be a little bit patient, and you're going to see her again really soon. Now let's go to the limited section. So the first card is Miscellaneousaurus. This is another one that a lot of people saw coming. Some people were saying that dinos did not really need to get hit, and that was partially true, but to be honest, with Scrap Raptor and stuff, with Chimera and all the combos, the deck was kind of really good, and it was around for too long. It's not about the deck being like too broken, it's about being too good for too long. And Misk was at 1. I mean, this panel is actually, now that I think of it, has a lot of cards back to the point that they used to be before, because Misk was at 1, and they brought it back to 3, and now it's back at 3. Just like with Dryden, she was banned, they brought her back, and now she's back in the ban list. But Misk is a card that just makes the dino matchup feel so unfair. Everything in the deck does, it's just okay if you can interact with it. But this card is like a Magical Meltdown, which doesn't let you want to do anything, and when you fusion summon, and this card doesn't let you do anything to your dinosaurs. Even Nibiru is not a card that can do anything against this board, because by the time there's something that is not a dinosaur on the field you can Nibiru, most likely it's something like a Dolka or a Savage Dragon, so you can basically do whatever you want without even caring about Nibiru. So Misk is a card that when you hard draw it, it makes the deck more broken, but you can still search it, do all your combos. It doesn't give you the follow-up anymore, which was another broken thing about Misk, is that when you use the first one for the combo, you always had another one in the graveyard to go for the follow-up. But now, if your board gets broken, then there's absolutely not much you can do against, unless you top deck something like an OV, a UTC, UCT, or Double Evolution Pill, because you don't have that much of a follow-up. Yeah, Misk was something that you need to have in the grave, and you didn't really care much about it being in the graveyard as long as you use the first one. So yeah, I think this is a really good hit, and people are still gonna play dinosaurs. The deck has a huge fan base, so it's not like people are going to quit because Misk got 1. I'm pretty sure people were still playing the deck before Argosaurus was released, when Misk was still at 1 before it got back to 3. So you can pretty much say that with all the support it has, Misk going to 1 is not the end of the deck. It's just something to make sure that the deck doesn't overtake pretty much anything, and it's going to be a really good deck still. Now, Skulker by Joker to 1. This card is interesting. People would bet that Electromite would come back instead of anything else for Pendulums, but it seems Konami does not want to bring Electromite back, and they're trying to make Pendulum players happy by giving them other cards back. And to be honest, that's not a bad idea, because Electromite, yes, it's a card that I'm not even sure that it deserves to be on the ban list, but Konami thinks that way, so there's nothing we can do about it. So we just need to be happy about anything that Konami gives us as far as Pendulum players go. There's another card we got back on top of Joker, but Joker is probably the most impactful one because it's such a good card in a lot of Pendulum decks. You can play Performables with it, you can play Odd Eyes, you can play Magicians. It gives you so much more because people were just tired of having to play Endymion if you wanted to play a Pendulum deck, and all the other Pendulum decks sucked. But Joker is not for Endymion. I mean, you can play it in Endymion if you play it as an engine, but as a pure deck. But now Pendulums can give more variety because Magicians, I think, is probably the most liked Pendulum deck out of all of them. So this card gives you a really good normal summon. People are definitely going to use it, and who knows, maybe if it doesn't do absolutely anything, which, let's be real, it's not going to, maybe we can get it to 2 or even 3 in future ban lists to make the deck even more good. So yeah, we can be waiting for that as well. When people start thinking about cards that going from ban to 0, they immediately think, what if it doesn't do anything? Then we have 2 copies and 3 copies, and that happens most of the time with the cards that go to 1 if they end up being absolutely not impactful, or unless the cards are like too broken on their own in multi copies, which is another topic. But Skulker by Joker is not one of those cards, so it can easily go back to 3 eventually if the deck doesn't do anything. Now, the next card was kind of like an insurance strategy to make sure that dragons were not going to be super broken even without LP, and that's Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon actually was a really good hit. This card, you went through 3 copies every single duel. The first copy you summoned to search your Boot Sector launch. The second copy you were summoning to give your LP good zones to be able to use your Pisty later in the combo, so you don't have to go LP Pisty, get Nibiru'd, and then you lost your entire extra deck plays. And now you will using the third Striker Dragon to get back the effect of Recharger, to get back your Red Arcanist Metal, and get your follow-up. So everyone was playing 3, that's no doubt. And this card being at 1 means that Rockets can still play with their Boot Sector launch. They're never going to ban cards like this, like Striker Dragon, like Balinks. They're never going to ban those Link 1s that search you the field spell. Otherwise, the field spells become completely useless for their decks, because now you can search them with just a Link 1. So this is a really good hit that's going to make the deck even less resilient, because if the board was broken, this card could just give you so much follow-up on top of having searched the Levianir with your Brotor when you tribute your Heaven Sphere. So it was just so good. But now without it, you have to use the 1 in turn 1 in order to get to your field spell, then you don't have another one. So if your board gets broken, then that's pretty much the end of you. And that's how combo decks should be, because what defines a really broken combo deck is decks that you can do the combo and still have resources to go through the rest of the game. That's what's made something like Adamancipator insanely broken, because it had Block Dragon coming back from the grave every single time. So this is why Striker Dragon is a really good hit, and I'm pretty sure Dragon players are still going to adapt, but the deck is not going to be hardly as formidable as it used. The next card is Salamangreat Mirage Thalio. A lot of people are happy for this one. People were calling for this ever since it got banned. They didn't really think that this card needed to get banned in the first place, but it was on the ban list when Konami was just completely tired of the Eternal format and wanted to destroy everything by banning Stalio, banning Colossus, banning Engage, and banning Harp Horror. They just went all out on that ban list without even thinking if any of these cards could be potentially good at 1. They just outright banned everything, and now they've started thinking about cards that could come back from that format, and Stalio was one of them. The Salamangreat deck is great, but without Stalio, it just lacked that going second power it had, and also that consistency it felt that it had in every single hand, because if you couldn't get to Gazelle, then your hands were very reliant on drawing the trap cards, but now you can get to Gazelle. You can even play rank 3 spam turbo stuff like Salamangreat now, with playing cards like Psychic Wielder, Psychic Trigger, maybe Kagemucha Knights and stuff like that, in order to combo with your Foxy and your Spinny to go into your Stalio, and now you're going to see Gazelle every single time. This card just makes debug completely redundant for the deck. You don't really need to play debug. You can play Buffalo, which is a good thing, because debug was one of the hugest choke points of the deck. People did not want to play debug just because of that. Even without Stalio, people were not playing debug. They just preferred Buffalo because of that. And now you don't really need to play debug ever again in your Salamangreats, just because Stalio is really good. And that one copy, it doesn't matter that it's at 1, because Jack Jaguar can just put it back in the extra deck, so you can use it as many times as you want. And this card gives you more going second power with its effect in the grave to bounce monsters. It's such such an all-around great card, and I think it was a much better decision than putting back copies of Gazelle and Circle. It just makes the deck feel like has all of its tools without even needing to put more copies of Circle or Gazelle, just because this card is so good, and people can still decrow your one Gazelle and you lose that. So I think the deck can still be countered very easily. It's just going to be a much more represented deck in the following formats, just because it's such a budget deck and people are going to decide to play it because it's so cheap, and now it's actually worth playing again. And the next card, we are going to talk about the card that probably shook the entire community, and I'm pretty sure that people are just afraid of what they remember, and that's not really the case anymore. And so let's talk about Engage. So Engage going to 1, people are just freaking out. People think that Konami did the absolute worst decision ever. They act like they put Pot of Greed to 3, and come on guys, chill out. First of all, let's talk about the OCG. The OCG has 2 Engage. I know they have 1 Kagari, they have 2 Anchor, but they have 3 multi-roll. So if we're talking about pure Sky Striker prowess, this is not gonna do anything. The deck might go to tier 2 Roguish strategy because it was completely unplayable. It was really, really bad before Engage. So if that's what you're worried about, if you think the Strikers are going to be annoying, come on. The only thing that made Striker annoying was top-taking Engage of Engage of Engage and being able to use all of these cards. It felt very psyche. With 1 Engage, you can't do that. Yes, you can resolve 2 Engages in 1 turn max if you just activate it and you recycle with Hagari. But in order to be able to do that, you have to either be a really good player and hard draw Engage turn 1, or you have to go through some steps to go for Shizuku, wait for the end phase, add Engage, and then you can use Engage twice during the next turn, which by that point you might actually be dead because the decks are so good right now. So that's not even a possible scenario unless you're playing a full controlled Sky Striker deck, which, come on, even True Draco can win this way. So it's not that big of a problem. The only problem with Engage was that it was splashable in other engines. It never got banned because of Strikers themselves. It got banned because of Sky Striker Orcast. This was the problem back then and what caused Engage to be banned. And with 1 copy, do you think that anyone is going to play it? Yes, they're going to experiment it at the start of the format, because everyone experiments with anything at the start of any format just to find out if something is good or not. So at the first few weeks, yes, you might see it a lot, but you will soon realize that it's not that good. In order to play an engine with 1 copy of Engage, you have to play that 1 Engage, the Hornet Drones, and at least 1 copy of Widow Anchor. So one of the 3 cards, when you draw it, it's completely dead. You don't want to draw a Widow Anchor, especially going first, because what deck does not summon something in the main monster zones anymore that would be able to use that? Hornet Drones is a good card, but if it was that good, people would be playing it even without Engage, and nobody was playing it before Engage got to 1. So do you think that people are going to play it now? Because yes, you have 2 copies of Hornet Drones instead of 1. Is that really big of a deal? Yes, you can occasionally draw 1 card, but you have to hard draw this 1 Engage in the specific hand that you can send 3 spells to the grave so you can draw 1. And yes, in this utopic scenario, you are going to win because you're going to resolve Engage twice while drawing a card. But come on, there are so many other situational scenarios that sound broken in theory, but when you put them in practice, they're just not practical at all, and this is one of them. It's not going to happen. When Engage was at 3, it was really consistent, and the deck was even playing cards like Allure of Darkness and Orchestrated Return to draw even more cards. And to talk about that, Harp Horror did not go back to 1, which is something that I'm actually shocked. When I was seeing stuff like Stalio and Engage, I thought Horror was going to 1, but it didn't for some reason. Maybe it will in the future, but still, come on guys, you don't really know exactly what's going to happen. You just think that this card is going to be broken because of how it used to be. If that's the case, why didn't anyone freak out with Dryden when she was unbanned? When Zodiac was at full power, then yeah, the deck was insane, but when she was unbanned for Tri-Brigades, the deck didn't do anything. And Engage, you're going to see it a little bit in the start of the format, and then you're just going to forget that the card even exists because nobody's going to play it. So yeah, give this card a break, stop freaking out, chill. You're going to realize really soon that this card is perfectly fine on 1. Yeah, this time is going to come for the format that cards like these that got banned for no reason, just because Konami wanted to end a format without second thoughts, and now we're starting to get into the format where like these cards are fair going to 1 because Konami is starting to put more thought into what they actually do, and this is why this card going to 1 is perfectly fine. Now for the semi-limited list, we have 1 body for Malicious. Now we have 2 cards. Now in the semi-limited list, Malicious is not alone. We have Double Iris to 2. Unfortunately, Malicious, my friend, you're going to be alone next ban list because Double Iris is definitely going to 3 next ban list, and this is what I was talking about. Pendulum Magicians getting more support with the ban list means that the deck is going to be a viable Pendulum option because Endymion, yes, it's a really good deck, but people were enjoying Pendulum Magicians more, so they're going to try the deck now with Joker and 2 copies of Double Iris. It's very consistent to get to those Pendulum graphs, to get Disruption. The deck is so fun to play. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are excited for it. Yes, everyone would have hoped that Electromite would have been the one to come off the list instead, but still, it's better than getting absolutely nothing, which I'm pretty sure that nobody argued for cards like Joker, and they were just saying saying bring back Electrum to 1. Yeah, I mean, we got another card. That's perfectly fine. Maybe Electromite will come back in the future. We just have to wait and see. But for now, let's just enjoy what we're given and make the most out of the cards we have. And for the unlimited section, that's the most disappointing part of the ban list, to be honest. This list could have been so perfect if they just brought back more cards. Cards like Infernity Archfiend, all those, because there's so many cards I can mention that could have been in this unlimited section, would not have mattered. Would just have given some fans of the deck the chance to play, but no, we just get Symbol of Heritage from Unlimited. And to be honest, I had forgotten that this card was at 1. I mean, what's this card going to do anyway? Yeah, bring back a Lonefire Blossom? Cool, really good. So yeah, guys, I think that this is one of the best lists that we've had in a very long time, and they hit exactly what needed to get hit in order to make the format as much balanced as possible, while also promoting a new product. I mean, we did not get any Dryden hits, obviously. There was no way that this deck was going to get butchered twice in a row when they just got to shine, because that's what happened last time, and there was no way they're going to do it now. They're going to do it eventually, of course, because the deck is really good, and it might actually be the best deck of the format, but the candidates are basically Dryden and pure Tri-Brigade, because the Zodiac, I think, are completely irrelevant right now, but we'll have to wait and see. But still, Dryden does not feel as oppressive as a deck like Dragonlink did. It's not as broken. Cards like Droll and Lockbird completely kill the deck when you drop on them, so you have so many ways to counter it, so there's not even a reason to be afraid that we're going to enter something like a tier 0 form of Dryden. That's not going to happen. And bringing us even more decks back, Salamangreat, yes, it's going to see play. The deck is still really good. It was really good before Stalio was off the list. People are gonna play it now even more. Striker, people are going to try it. People really like the deck, and they're gonna try it, although I don't think how much success this deck can see, but we'll have to wait and see what people come up with in order to make this deck playable again. Pendulums, people will try out Pendulums, and yes, so all these decks that we can get just increased variety, because this ban list could have very easily been a backfired ban list when it would just destroy dragons completely, maybe limit Tenki on top of Dryden being banned, and then just make the format a one deck format with Dryden. Yes, that could have very easily happened, but Konami did a really good job preventing that, while also giving us more variety and the hits we have mostly wanted, because I know a lot of people wanted more hits, but come on, what was the deck that you were most complaining about? It was Dragonlink. So yeah, you got what you wanted. The deck is not dead, but it's not even as powerful as it used to. So yep, that's the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below your thoughts about the ban list, if you think that Konami missed anything, if you think more cards should have get hit or more cards should have come off the list. Let's have a discussion and see exactly how much Konami could have done more or less. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming content, and we'll see you next time.